stream on Facebook live, so some of our people can catch it while it's going on. All right, all praises. I think that's good there. That should be good. All right, hopefully everybody can see the screen. I am not privy to the chat. My wife keeps an eye on it. Um, if anything really important comes up, feel free to unmute your mic and uh and share it with me. Okay, babe?
Okay.
All right. If people have questions, of course, just wait till the end. Write your question down, wait till the end. I will do my best to answer all the questions from the scriptures. Because a lot of times we have questions, and by the time we finish the study, the questions are answered. So today we are talking about what Negroes need to know about the Medes, and this is part two. In part one, just as a quick recap, we looked at what Edom says about the Medes, right? And we started breaking down this paragraph that he brought out. So Esau in his history book says the Medes are one of an Indo-European people and they're related to the Persians. So we tackled what Indo-European means, who exactly are the Indo-European people. Um, and let's see. And then we started tackling are the Medes indeed related to the Persians, right? So by the time we finished the lesson, we figured out that the Medes were actually the children of Japheth, so-called Asian people, right? And we showed the receipts and everything, right? I have a last piece for you guys because um in last week's lesson, we looked at Madai, who is the namesake of the Medes. The Medes are named after Japheth's son, Madai. Um, but I didn't bring out the really powerful pieces of evidence that I had found in the historical record that actually got me to do this study in the first place. So I kind of laughed about it, and I want to bring it out at the beginning of this lesson today before we go into the second part of the lesson, which is who are the Persians. All right. So last week we figured out the Medes were so-called Asian people, right? And this week we're gonna find out, according to um, uh, the scriptures and the historical record seen through the lenses of the truth of the scriptures, who are these people that history calls the Persians, right? So first, I want to start up here with Madai, right? We'll go to Genesis 10 and 2. Saba, if you could bring that out for me. Go ahead. Hausa Micah, go ahead.
Raise your volume.
Raise my volume.
Yeah.
Okay. Check, check, check. All right. 1 second. Check, check, check. Here, I'll do this. This should um this should help. 1 second. Check, check, check. Is that better?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Let's see here. Okay. Microphone. Check, check, check. Say something.
Shalom.
There we go. All right, that's good. All right. Good. And you guys can hear me just fine now, right?
Yeah.
Perfect. All praise to the Most High. All right. So Genesis 10 and verse 2, right? Um, Let me get the plain one here in the King James. All right, let's get that, please, Sabs.
The sons of Japheth, Gomer, and Magog, and Madai, and Javan, and Tubal, and Meshech, and Tiras. And the sons of Gomer, and Ashkenaz, and Riphath, and To and Togarmah.
All
And
right,
the
so
sons
stop right there. Stop right there. So the part I wanted, the sons of Japheth, okay, are Gomer, Magog, and Madai, and Javan, Tubal, Meshach, and Tiras. And of course, I want Madai. All right. So when we go to Bible Hub and we look into the interlinear, which has the Hebrew, the English, and the strong concordance references, in addition to other references, we see here Wa Madai. Okay, Wa, which is the wow, plus Madai and Madai. Wa is and. Okay. Of course, the modern Hebrew is invented by Masoretes, Edomites, that basically invented this modern Hebrew based off of ancient Hebrew, French, German, a bunch of different languages. They just kind of slapped it together, right? So, and we know what the ancient Hebrew sounded like, so we know it's Madai. And it's funny because the scholars often will put the actual transliteration, even though the Masoretes tell you some other nonsense. In any case, Madai, in Strong's lexicon, the Medes, right? Of course, going down to the Brown Driver Briggs, the Medes, right? This is the one scholars don't wanna, they'll never, sort of argue it. Madai means the Medes, man, right? Media in Old Persian, Mada, Old Persian, Mada, Assyria, Madai, and so on and so forth. All right. So when we're talking about Madai, we're talking about the Medes. Okay. So watch this. Who are the Medes? Ancient people who inhabited the land of Media. Okay, we looked at that reference last week. Media on the Achaemenid Empire map. We looked at that last week. I'm just gonna do a quick recap here. Okay, so this is the land of Media. All right, this is the land of Media. All right. Um, so what did the Medes really look like? Okay, what did the Medes really look like? Because the historical record tells you, according to Esau here, that the Medes are related to the Persians, okay? Which is simply not true, man. They're not related to the Persians, right? For the intents and purposes of identification of people within the scriptures. And the reason I say that is because Shem, Ham, and Japheth are, of course, brothers, but God separated them into nations in Genesis 10, man. After he names all the sons of Japheth, from verse 2, when he gets to the end of the sons of Japheth in verse 5, he says, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided in their lands. The isles of the Gentiles are those Mediterranean islands, chiefly. By these, who? These people. That's why Cyprus is called Kittim. I can't remember the exact name of the place, but a western in Anatolia, no, not Anatolia, sorry, Spain, southern Spain is called Tarshish, right? Uh, South of the Black Sea, they tell you it's called Ashkenaz, and they tell you Ashkenazi people come from there, and don't get tricked. The real Ashkenaz have nothing to do with these Edomites, man, these so-called Jewish people. The real Ashkenaz are the children of Japheth, right? And this causes a lot of confusion in Israel because as soon as Israel see Ashkenaz, they don't go do their research and they're like, you see, the so-called white men from the cave, they're Ashkenazi Jews and this, that, and the other, and more confusion, right? You got to be very, very careful and tiptoe around the truth for the Most High. You understand? Because he tells you you're walking on a dangerous path with fire on one side and water on the other side. And he tells you stay the course. Don't look to the right hand or to the left. If you notice, a lot of our ancestors that were committed to the Most High, they like to say, Father, I will not move to the right hand or to the left. What does that mean? Well, Pop, I'm going to walk a straight path. It's a straight path to the Most High. And much confusion of the mind tries to veer you to the right hand or to the left. But you must resist by taking your time, going and research for yourself, and not being so easily swayed, man. Right? As I always say, and as is written in the word, a fool, as is written in the law, actually, um, well, the word is the law. The fool believeth every word, but the wise looketh well to their going. The wise look well to their going. As it is also written, prove all things, meaning examine all things, and hold fast to that which is good, and abstain from all appearance of evil. Right? All appearance, all the man say, well, if the thing look evil, abstain from it. Right? So that's to show you we're supposed to be walking a straight and disciplined path. I digress. He says, look what he says. Look how he divides three brothers that came from the same mother and same father into nations, right? So after he um reveals the sons of Japheth, notes the sons of Japheth, he said, by these were the isles of the Gentiles divided where? In their lands. So they have their own lands. Everyone after his tongue. They got their own languages, family. After their what? Their families. And we know your families, your pedigree is by the house of your father, according to, I believe that's Numbers 118. And then he tells you, in their nations. You see? And this is a very good note to put in your Bible as a precept for the New Testament when the Bible says all nations this and all nations that. People jump and say that it means everyone, but here you have God um listing out sons of one man and telling you, oh yeah, those are nations. And then he lists out the sons of another man who is that previous man's brother, Ham. He names them, and then at the end of naming them all, where is it? He tells you in verse 20, these are the sons of Ham. After what? Their families, their languages, their own countries, and their nations. And in the same way, we know the Shemites are divided in their languages. Sorry, right here in 31. Their families, they're divided by their families, their languages, their lands, and their nations. All right. So everyone's not the same, man. All skin folk ain't kinfolk. You understand? Um, and that's what it is. Bear with me a second, family. Let's see here. Sorry about that. So just trying to find my place here. All right. So what did the Medes really look like? Right? That being said, knowing that the Medes are different, the Japhites are different from the Shemites are different from the Hamites. What did the Medes really look like? All right. And in order to get that, I'm gonna show you guys something real cool. There's a guy named Deioces who's written about in the historical records as a Mede. Deioces the Mede. Now, as soon as you hear the name, you're thinking, oh, this guy's a Greek. But when you start doing the research, let me show you guys what I found. So it says Deioces was the first king of Media. This is very important. Deioces was the first king of Media. Remember, we're still looking at who the Medes are. I already showed you guys that they're Asian people, Scythians, Cimmerians, Javanese, all with an Asian look. Well, here's the last brother I want to show you guys whose namesake is this study, which is Madai. So Deioces, according to the historical record, was the first king of of Media and the father of Phraortes. All right, and we have the reference here. See if I can go to that real quick. Deioces was the founder and the first king of the Median kingdom, an ancient polity in Western Asia. His name has been mentioned in different forms. This is very important. His name has been mentioned in different forms in various sources. Same guy, just called different things, okay? Including the ancient Greek historian Herodotus. Okay, this is very important to note as well. Because Herodotus, although he embellished much history, he's still used as a reference in the historical record, right? Because he just wrote in too much detail about certain things for some of it to not be true. So you got to take it with a grain of salt. Even the scholars take Herodotus with a grain of salt, right? Nevertheless, he has information that can be gleaned. Okay. Let's see here. The exact date of the era of Deioces' rule is not clear and probably covered most of the first half of the first century BC. According to Herodotus, Deioces was the first Median king to have gained independence from the Neo-Assyrian Empire and governed for 53 years. After Deioces' death, his son Phraortes succeeded him. Okay, right. So, so this is the first point about Deioces. Deioces was the first king of Media and the father of Phraortes. Okay. Scholar Kyligi, Motlag, and others believed that Hushang, a man named Hushang, and Deioces were the same person. I'm going to repeat that again because this is very important. Um, when you follow, I think it's this reference right here. No, it's reference 26. The citation is from Kalegi Motlag, who writes a book named Hushang and Deioces, okay? Who wrote a paper, Hushang and Deioces. And said when it says some Iranologists, it's talking about people like this guy that I just mentioned. What do they believe? They believe Deioces to be the same Hushang, right? In Shahnameh. Don't get your head twisted up, okay? Just listen and follow, you'll see. He's the same Hushang in Shahnameh. Due to the features Herodotus states for him, okay? So the same historian Herodotus, he said, hey, this is what Deioces was like. Because he has so many similarities to Hushang, scholars believe this was the same damn person, right? And consider the title. So not just off of that, they also consider the title that they both had, which is Paradat or Pishdadian, which is equal to what? The first legislator. Okay? It says the religious tradition considers, and this is important too, the religious tradition, okay, so the priests that came down through these generations considers Hushang the first person to establish kingship in Iran. Where's Iran, family? It's the same area, okay, that they tell you about where Media is, where Elam is, where Parthia is, okay, where Persis is, or Persia, okay. This is Iran. Let's see if we can pull it up here for comparison on a modern map. See that? Persian Gulf, north there, Iran. All right. This whole middle section here, Iran. And they've, of course, broken it up into Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan in these times. Okay. All right. Let's get the side by side here. Right. So, this is the Achaemenid dynasty. This is where the so-called Persian dynasty ruled, right? And remember, the Achaemenid dynasty is also called the Medo-Persian dynasty, which means the Medes and the Persians ruled together. The Medes, again, we've already established are Asians, and they also ruled with people called Persians, and we're going to find out who these people are. So this is the land, right? Up here, Caspian Sea, down here, Persian Gulf, up here, Caspian Sea, down here, Persian Gulf, Iran, that middle section right there, all right? Um, along with Turkmenistan, Afghanistan, and Pakistan, right? The Medo-Persian Empire owned all this land, man, all this land here, right? Pakistan, Afghanistan, Turkmenistan, they owned it all, you know? All right, so just give me a second. Let's put that back together. Great. In case we need that again. Oh, excellent. Let's go back to diocese. So the religious tradition or the priests, okay, the people then that you can trust the most to bring down um the oral history of the people the best in all cultures, but especially here in this particular so-called Iranian culture, says Hushang was the first person to establish kingship in Iran. All right. In another source, it says that it was Deioces. All right. So these scholars are like, okay, this Deioces and this Hushang, they have a very similar stories. They must be talking about the same person, right? So I have here written texts from 4 different perspectives show common features in the identity of Hushang and Deioces. Most notably, that they were both considered the first legislator or king of the Medes before the Persians. Okay? See footnote 7 about this feature. Okay. So here are the three things. I'm gonna highlight three of the four. Okay. So it says among Herodotus's reports about Diocles and those of Avesta. Avesta is a certain holy book. All right. That the I believe Persians possess. Right. Let me just read this little excerpt here because I don't want to, give you guys the wrong information. The Avesta is the text corpus of religious literature of Zoroastrianism. All its texts are composed in the Avestan language and written in the Avestan alphabet. Modern editions of the Avesta are based on the various manuscript traditions that have survived, right? So you guys can look into this yourself, all right? This would 100% be Persian because I already know sort of where this is going. And what? Middle Persian. So among Herodotus's reports about Diocles and those of the reports from the Avesta and the reports from Middle Persian, Arabic, and New Persian texts. I'm going to read that again. Herodotus reports about Diocles, okay? The Avesta reports about Diocles. Middle Persian records report about Diocles. Arabic, and New Persian. So I was even short. That's 5 sources. All these texts report about Diocles, right? Share common features, all right? About the what identities of Hushang and Diocles family. All of them, all these sources share common features about the identities of Hushang and Diocles. It says the most important of them can be summarized in 3 points. There we go. So according to Herodotus, this is their own Elamite historian, all right? Diocles was the headman of the village during the time, and the name or title Diocles, meaning farmer, must have been given him because of this. And Hushang, according to Arabic and Persian texts, made innovations in what? The same thing, our agriculture, and thus he probably acquired the title of farmer. Okay? So this is the first point showing you Diocles and Hushang is the same person, right? This is the first point that make scholars like Mortlag believe this particular thing. And they're right? As we'll see as I go through. Diocles and Hushang were the first legislator and the first king. I'm going to read that again. Diocles, both Diocles and Hushang were considered the first legislator and the first king. And thus, Hushang was given the title, and this is important, Paradat or Pishdad. Okay, so Hushang was called the Paradat. He was also, the same word Paradat is translated Pishdad. It's also translated Bishdad. Okay. And Fishdad in Arabic. Okay. So Hushang was given this particular title. Paradat, Pishdad, Fishdad, Bishdad, all the same thing. Which was probably an imitation of the name and title of the Assyrian king Sargon of Akkad, meaning the lawful king. Okay, so they're saying the title that he was given, not took for himself, the title Hushang was given was likely copied from Sargon, king of Akkad, okay, who I'm pretty sure is mentioned in the scriptures as well. The third point says, Diocles and Hushang developed housing and urban lifestyle, and thus Hushang acquired the name or title Hioshinge or Hushang or Ushanj in Arabic. All right. So far, seeing the name Hushang family, A couple people can answer. What kind of name does this sound like? The name Hushang, does this sound like an English name, a
Nope.
Scottish name, a French name? What kind of name does this sound like?
Asian, if I'm wrong.
It certainly sounds Asian to me as well, brother. So right off the rip, it sounds like an Asian name, Hushang, right? Anybody else?
Same.
Same. Sounds
Yeah, definitely Asian name.
definitely sounds Asian, right?
Yeah, it is. It
Right.
sounds Asian.
Right. So let's see if that's what's going on. Let's see if it's Asian for real, right? So who is Hushang, right? We have a couple points here from the records that we've been reading. Hushang is the Paradat or Pishdadian, okay? The Paradat or the Pishdadian, okay? Let's see if I want anything from this. The Pishdadian dynasty is a mythical line of primordial kings featured in Zoroastrian belief and Persian mythology. Now, don't get twisted when you hear it say mythical, because they also say the Bible is mythical, right? Also, the word myth, don't get twisted with the meaning. They have transformed the meaning of this word myth to mean like something you made up. Okay. Let's see if I can get if I can get the etymology on it there. Myth etymology. Etymology online, sorry. Etymology online. From French, myth 1818, directly from modern Latin mythos, from Greek mythos, speech, thought, word, discourse, conversation. Okay? Uh, Story, saga, tale, myth, anything delivered by word of what? This is what they call, this is the original sense of myth. Anything delivered by what family?
Word of mouth.
You see that? Well, last time I checked, a whole bunch of people have a thing called oral history. So you're telling me because they didn't write it down, they lied. That's madness, right? That's simply not true. Even in we have our biblical records for certain things that we needed written down, but everything was not written down. You know, there's things we practice as so-called Negroes that are not written down in the scriptures, but we do them because it's come down through word of mouth in our culture, man. We like to bathe. Why? Because it's our culture, man. Because growing up, you don't bathe, they call you nasty. And your friends tell you how you stink, man. So you're not finding too many Negroes out here not bathing for a week, man. But they would say, oh, that's a myth, you know. It's a myth that the Negroes bathe all the time. You know? Want to point that out there. It's very important. Because Esau liked to use words to confuse people's minds, man. That's his witchcraft, man. Mind control, man. And manipulation, deception specifically. Because a deception always look like the truth. That being said, the Pishdadian dynasty is a mythical line of primordial kings featured in the Zoroastrian belief and Persian mythology. They are presented in legend as originally rulers of the world. Okay? But whose realm was eventually limited to Iran, Iran Shah, Iran Shah, or Greater Iran. Although there are scattered references to them in the Zoroastrian scriptures, the Avesta and later the Pahlavi literature, it is to the 11th century Iranian national epic, the Shahnameh. This is why I told you guys don't worry too much about the Shahnameh, because now you're finding out what the Shahnameh is. It's a 11th century Iranian national epic. Okay, so a long epic poem, right? Describing certain events and people. The poem is called the Shahnameh. All right. It says, I'll go from the beginning of the sentence. Although there are scattered references to them in the Zoroastrian scriptures, to who? The Pishdadians. All right. It is to the 11th century Iranian national epic Shahnameh that the canonical form of their legends is known. Right? So they wrote down all their myth. They wrote down all their word of mouth in the Shahnameh to seal who these Pishdadians are. It says, from the 9th century, Muslim writers, notably Tabari, retold many of the Pishdadian lessons in prose histories and other works. The Pishdadian kings and the stories relating to them have no basis in historical fact, however. I'm going to leave that there. Remember, he just said they have no basis in historical fact, right? That's their assertion, whoever this writer is. Let's see. According to the Shahnameh, remember he said no basis, right? Let's hear. According to the Shahnameh, the Pishdadians were the first Iranian dynasty predating the historical Achaemenids. Remember, and we're going to look at it, hopefully we get time today, the Achaemenids, this is the Medo-Persian Empire. It is also called the Achaemenid Empire. The Pishdadians were there, he says, before the Achaemenids, or the Medo-Persian, or sometimes called the Persian Empire. They were there before. According to the Bible, who was in those lands before anybody came and started taking it from them? Anyone? By who were the Isles of the Gentiles divided? By what tribe? Shem, Ham, or Japheth?
Japhet.
Japheth. So the people that predated the Achaemenids, according to the Bible, were the Japhites. It says, according to the Shahnameh, the Pishdadians were the first Iranian dynasty, predating the historical Achaemenids, and ruling for a period of over 2,000 years. This is their priests, writing this stuff. Their progenitor was Kiyumars. Does anyone remember or know the significance of this name, the Kiyumars? Does anyone know the significance of the Kiyumars? Going once, going twice. Okay, we'll find out in a sec. Their progenitor was the Kiyumars. So the people that came before the Pishdadians were called the Kiyumars. They were the first human and Zoroastrian what? Adam. So these people on that side, these Iranians, considered Kiyumars their Adam. This is very, very important. Let me see if I can just get it quick. Is it there already? Don't think it's there yet. Okay. Anyway, their progenitor was Kiyumars, the first human and Zoroastrian Adam. He was followed by his descendants who, as kings of the world, fought demons and improved the lives of humankind by introducing them to new knowledge and skills. The most renowned successor, Jamshid, established the main elements of civilization, but as a result of his pride and hubris, was overthrown by the evil tyrant Zaaka, Zaak. What? Zahak, sorry. Following a popular insurrection against Zahak, the throne was eventually restored to the Pishdadians. However, the next king, Feridun, divided the world between his three sons. These guys had their own Adam named Kiyumars. And according to them, Kiyumars divided the world between his three sons. Who does that sound like, family? Who divided the world between his three sons?
Moses?
No,
Noah.
Noah. Noah divided the world between his three sons. Now
Oh,
watch, it's all good. I know you meant Noah, but you said Moses, no? Babe,
yeah,
I
yeah,
know you meant Noah, but you say Moses don't.
yes, yes.
Yeah, I know you're ready. Okay, who are the Kiyumars? This is a big clue. The Kiyumars was the name of the first king of the Pishdadian dynasty of Iran. Okay? According to the Shahnameh. The name appears in Avesta in the form of, I can't read that, Gayoi Meretan, or in medieval Zoroastrian texts, Gayomard or Gayomart. The name Kiyumars is the name Gayomard family or Gayomart. Who is that? Let me see if it's here. Uh, 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 where is it? It's not here. So strange. Let me see something here. Let's keep our studies going because I'm pretty sure I have it in the notes. So, anyways, um, divided the world between his three sons. His youngest, Iraj, received Iran, the choicest spot after whom it is named. Iraj and his successors aroused the envy of the other descendants of Feridun, leading to a lengthy feud and series of wars which eventually caused the downfall of the dynasty. The Shahnameh tells how the Iranians having no confidence in the last of the Pishdadians, replaced them with another mythical dynasty, the Kayanians. Okay. Um, where is it? The stories of the Pishdadian kings have been politically and culturally influential in Iranian society. The stories of the Pishdadian kings have been politically and culturally influential in Iranian society. Now, I know being over here in the West, when we hear about Iranian society, we are not thinking about this guy. Nobody is seeing this in their mind when you hear Iranian. Am I right or am I wrong? Are you thinking about an Asian looking man when you hear about Iranians in the news and such?
No.
No. You're thinking about some maybe eagle beak, hairy guys, man, that look like Arabs, you know? But it says the Pishdadian kings have been politically and culturally influential in Iranian society. Both in antiquity and the Middle Ages, ruling dynasties claimed descent from them. Ruling dynasties in Iran claimed descent from the Pishdadian kings. This here is Kiyumars, the progenitor of the Pishdadian dynasty family. This is the man considered Kiyumars. I'm pretty sure everyone can see this is an Asian man. This Asian man is considered the progenitor of the Pishdadian dynasty. Okay? Reading on, it says, they claim descent from them in order to be imbued with their prestige and political legitimacy. Into the modern era, the tales of the Shahnameh continue to pervade all aspects of Iranian culture. And as part of that, the Pishdadians remain central to Iranians' sense of roots. The Pishdadians are essential to the Iranian sense of their own roots, of their own history, and of their national identity. This man, children, is central to Iranian understanding of themselves. I never learned that in school, right? Reading on, going back to Hushang here. So, who is Hushang? Well, Hushang is considered the Paradat or the Pishdadian family. This man we just looked at, right? Hushang is considered to be the Paradat or the Pishdadian, the original Pishdadian, right? Or one of the original Pishdadians, I should say, right? We already read about who the Pishdadians were. We already saw that the Pishdadians were Asians, right? Going back, how does this relate? This all came from Deioces being considered the exact same person as Hushang. And who is Deioces? The first king of the Medes, of the house of Madai, showing you that the Medes or the people of Madai are Asian people. Let's look at Paradat, because Hushang is considered the Paradat, and he's also considered the Pishdadian. So we looked at the Pishdadian a second ago with our readings, right? Yeah. So now let's look at the Paradat, okay? It says the Paradat is similar to the name of the progenitor of the Scythian royal house. Now, we already, again, proved that the Scythians were Asians. So look at this. Let's see what this reference says here. Some have noted the similarity between the name Paradata and Paralatos, the name of the progenitor of the Paralate or the royal Scythians family, who was a grandson of Targetos. Who is Targetos? Whose name does that sound like, family? Right? Out of the sons of Japheth, right? He was a grandson of Targetos, the first man. So the Scythians considered Targetos the first man. Who could this Targetos be according to Genesis 2? We have these names here: Gomer, Magog, Madai, Javan, Tubal, Meshech, Teras, Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rifar, Togarmah, and so on and so forth. Out of all of these names, which of these names do you think Targetas could come from? Knowing what you know about how these languages, how the names change across languages. Take a wild guess. Oops. I'll narrow it down. It's in this line. Out of Gomer, Ashkenaz, Rifah, and Togarmah.
The last one.
Yeah. Right? Now, I can't prove that. But when I see how these names are lining up historically and switching and changing, and how these people are related, and how the Scythians consider Targetos their Adam. That means for them, he was the first. And the Most High did put Togarmah as a leader of a tribe, of a nation of people. So of course they're going to think Targetos or Togarmah was the first man. The same way that uh uh the Pishdadians, right? Or the Medes here, the people of Hushan, believe that Kiyumars was the first man, you know. Let's go to reference number 9. Reference number 9 says, Zoroastrian belief held that the dynasty originated with the first human, Gaiomard, also known as Kiyumars, and called Gaiomart in the Shahnameh and Gaia Meritan in the Avesta, who was brought to life by Ahura Mazda, the creator deity in Zoroastrianism. So the Zoroastrians believe that the first human name was Gaiomard. Okay? What does this name look suspiciously like, family? In the sons of Japheth?
Gomer.
Gomer. And they considered that was their Adam. Gomer was the head of a nation. So for them, that would have been their Adam. Gomer, just like Togarmah or Targetos would have been the Togarmarians' Adam, right? Because their history is coming down by word of mouth. Remember, these brothers left Noah and only one nation kept the laws, statutes, and commandments that Noah taught them. All the others went off and did their own thing. So generation to generation, they're not holding up the laws, statutes, and commandments of the Most High. The creation account is gonna change. The gods are gonna change. The rulers are gonna change. Hell, men are gonna make themselves gods and rulers because we know mankind. That's what they do, you know. In any case, I had the one-to-one actual receipt saying the Guyomards are Gomer. I'm praying it's still in the lesson here somewhere. If not, I'll find it for you guys and I'll post it next week, Lord willing. Right? But I had the one-to-one receipt telling you the Guyomards are talking about the Gomerites. In any case, um, it says here in the Shahnameh, Guyomard is the first king of the world. Listen to this. And wearing animal skins and living in mountains. He teaches humankind how to feed and dress itself and lays down the rules of kingship. Whose account is that, family? Who is the first king of the world and wears animal skin, right? Now, here's a little detail which may or may not be true. It says, and lives in mountains. Living in the mountains, wearing animal skins, right? Actually, so to avoid confusion, some of you leave out the living in the mountains part, which may be an actual detail that we're getting from the historical record of where certain people actually lived, right? But just focus on the wearing of the animal skins and being the first king. Which account in the Bible tells us a certain person was the first king? It doesn't say it in those words, but that's what it was. We understand this by precepts. And when they were wearing animal skins, man. Whose account is that? Anyone?
Adam.
It's Adam's account. That's who is the king wearing animal skins after he gets kicked out of the garden, man. And these Gomerites say, hey, that was Gomer. That happened to Gomer, man. That happened to Guyomard, man. That's how Guyomard, that's the creation story, man. So Guyomard gave them a story instead of telling them what really happened. Whether that was whether he did it maliciously or through generations of wickedness, hey, that's what happened, man. But the thread is still in there. It says, during Guyomard's rule, Siyamak, his son, is killed in a battle with the evil deity Ahriman. So Guyomard's ruling, and his son is killed by an evil deity. Who's that talking to about in the biblical record? Who does that relate to in the biblical record? This should be super easy because we know Adam is the animal skin wearer. So somebody killed the king's son. A evil deity killed the king's son. Who's that talking about? Which two biblical characters would that relate to? KK, do you know? KK, do you know?
Repeat, please.
The account of a king's son. You may not know this. I'm gonna pass the question to Savs, okay? Savs, did you hear? Savs,
What'd you say?
did you hear the question?
No, that's why I'm asking.
Okay, don't worry. Somebody who heard the question, please answer. What account is that? the king's son is killed by an evil deity, what could that be talking about in the biblical record?
Cain and Abel.
Cain and Abel. So you have Adam, and then you have Cain and Abel. And this is in the Gaiomard's religious text family, the same thread. Remember, the critic said this has no basis in historical fact. That's what he said. But yet we're finding the basis in historical fact. It says, Ahriman is in turn defeated in a further battle with Gaiomard and Siamak's son, Hushang. Let's see, and Siamak's son, Hushang. So now it's saying Hushang was the son was the grandson of Gaiomard, man. Hushang, Diocles the Mede, is the grandson of Gaiomard family. And this is Hushang's dad. Diocles' dad. According to their own Iranian priests. According to their own Japhite priests. This is Hushang or Diocles' dad. And this is the son of Gaiomard. According to their own records family. Handed down through their culture, person to person. It says, Ahriman is in turn defeated in a further battle with Gaiomard and Siamak's son, Hushang. Gaiomard rules for 30 years and on his death is succeeded by Hushang, and Hushang founds the Pishdadian dynasty. The dynasty that was around before the Persian dynasty was founded by an Asian man by the name of Hushang. Or, as the Greeks know him, Diocles. Um,
So sorry, I just so basically what happened now is that this is the original story of the people from those lands,
yep,
but they're just replaced with the people that we see there today. And they kept
yes,
and so they kept the same history.
that's right.
Okay.
So the indigenous people of that land, this is how their priests tell their history. This is what their priests drew. The pictures I showed you guys, this is what their priests drew, and this is the record that their priests made, telling about their history. That's plain as day. Again, I don't know what happened to the reference I had for Gaiomard. Hopefully I can find it. But if not today, I certainly will go looking. Siamak's son Hushang led the army that defeated Ahriman's son, who he bound and beheaded. Siamak's son Hushang. Okay, so this is Siamak. Great, we spoke about that. And I have one more reference here. Hushang becomes king after defeating the demons. So this is Hushang himself. I'll pull up the picture in a second. He goes on to discover how to make fire in a fortuitous accident, introduces to humankind metal work, irrigation, agriculture, animal husbandry, and hunting. He dies peacefully and is remembered for transforming the existence of humanity for the better. Uh, in the Buddha in the Bundashin, Hushang, the founder of Pishdadian dynasty, grandson of the first. Listen to this. He was the grandson. Hoshang was the grandson of the first man, Mashia. Whose name is Mashia in or very close to Mashia in Hebrew? Let's go and see. Well, it's Moses, family, right? It's Moses, right? They call him, the name says Mashia. Moses' name is Masha. Okay. I remember Moses was the Yahweh Shai of the Old Testament. Everybody is Moses they knew about. Okay. So hopefully you guys can see these Medes are Asians, man. And specifically Madai um comes from I mean I showed you guys straight. Madai is from what do you call it? In the historical record, they know the man as um Hushang, man. Hoshang. DOCs, Hoshang, they all come from the same line. Gaiomard, they all come from the same line, right? And that would be the line of Japheth. Yeah, I have to find this reference. It's gonna bother me. How are we doing for time? Let's see here. Okay, 2:51. We're not too bad. All right, so that's what I have on the Medes. All right. So Madai, one of the sons of Japheth, you guys can see, um, you know, his offspring are Asian people. So hold on. Why are the Gomerites, right, associated with the Sumerians and the Sumerians are Asian? Why are the Javanese Asian and the Medes Asian, right? And Magog Asian, right? Looking, right? They all come from the same father, Japheth. They're all Japhites. That's why they look similar, nation to nation like that. They're all the same people. Japhites, broken up by nation by the sons of their father. All right, so we have about half hour. Let's see what we can do with the Persians. Now that we know who the Medes are, let's move on to the Persians. Who are the Persians? The Persians are Achaemenian people. Okay. Sister Kira, can you read this reference here for me, please? Are you able to see that? Good enough to read it?
The blue highlighted part?
Yeah. Yeah, just kind of skip what doesn't make sense for readability. You know what I mean?
Okay. How do you pronounce the A word?
Achaemenid.
Achaemenid. Okay. The Achaemenid Empire, or the Achaemenid Empire,
Mm-hmm.
also known as the Persian Empire,
Mm-hmm.
or the First Persian Empire,
Mm-hmm. Was an Iranian. You can just go from here. Was an Iranian.
was an Iranian empire founded by Cyrus the Great of the Achaemenid dynasty in
Mm-hmm.
550 BC.
Mm-hmm.
Based in modern-day Iran, it was the largest empire by that point in history, spanning a total of 5.5 million square kilometers.
Go
The
ahead.
empire the empire spanned from the Balkans and the Egypt in the west, most of West Asia, the majority of Central Asia to the northeast, and the Indus Valley of South Asia to the southeast.
Right. So 1 second. Again, this is what we're looking at. The Achaemenid dynasty, which is the same thing as the Achaemenid dynasty. I'm pretty sure the sister Kira just read that. Achaemenid, Achaemenian, same thing. Persian, same thing. First Persian, same thing. Okay. All right. Also known some places as the empire or just the kingdom. Okay. So this is what we're looking at. This is their lands and borders. Okay. Now, hopefully you guys are starting to make the connection. The indigenous Japhites were here and somebody took it from them. Well, it was a series of people, but um when they co-ruled, it was the Persian. It was the Persian that had conquered their lands, including Media, right? Uh, uh, Cyprus, where we know they were, Cappadocia, where we know they were, right? Um, uh, uh, Granicus, and here in parts of Greece, which we know they were. When it says the isles of the Gentiles, it's talking about these isles and the isles west of here. You know, there's the Scythians up here, Japhites, right? Not part of the empire, but anyway, let's move on. Um, this was the empire, all right? This was the Achaemenian dynasty or empire. It gives you a date here as well. Yeah, 600 to 500 BC. Okay, because of course the dates count backwards when you go BC, right? From 600 is closer to creation than 500. Okay, if you can sort of picture that. So, who are the Persians? The Persians are Achaemenian people, right? According to this particular excerpt. So then, who are the Achaemenians then? Where does this name come from? Okay, well, the Achaemenians are the children, literally, of Archaemenes. Okay, we're following the breadcrumbs to get back to their progenitor, man. The Achaemenians or the Persians are the children, the Persians who ruled that empire are the children of Achaemenes, or Achaemenes, sorry, it would be pronounced. The Achaemenid Empire, it says, borrows its name from the ancestor of Cyrus the Great, the founder of the empire, and his name is Achaemenes. It says the term Achaemenid, as in Achaemenid Empire, means literally of the family of Achaemenes, man, or Achaemenes. So when you're reading about the Achaemenid Empire, you're reading about the empire of the family of a man named Achaemenes or Achaemenes. Okay? It says Achaemenes was himself a minor 7th century ruler of Anshan, which will become very important for us trying to show who these people are. Okay, so you need to remember this. Achaemenes was himself a minor 7th century ruler of Anshan in southwestern Iran. And he was a vassal of Assyria, which just means they were owned by Assyria and they had to pay Assyria, taxes and loyalty and all of that stuff. That's who Achaemenes was, man. Before he created the Achaemenid Empire, the empire ruled, whose rule began with his family. And rule and conquest began with him and his family, right? So then who is Achaemenes? Says here we have the info, minor 7th century ruler of Anshan, right? As we saw in the paragraph above. And then it says Anshan is of great importance in the Elamite history. So now we start to get a clue as to what's going on here. Now we can't just go with that only, right? Because many places are of major importance in other places' history. For example, Greece is of great importance in Edomite history, but the Edomite is not a Greek. See, so that's not enough. We need more. Anshan is of great importance in Elamite history, right? Says the uncertain, Saba, can you read this, please? The highlighted part?
Where?
The highlighted part? Can you
Where
see
in the highlighted part?
the whole thing?
Oh,
You see the purple highlighted portion?
kind of, but not fully.
Really? 1 second. Oh, what did I do here? One second. Right here.
The uncertainty in this area extends almost also to modern scholarship. Since the discovery of ancient Anshan and the realization of its great importance in Elamite history, the definitions were changed again. Some modern scholars argued that the center of Elam lay at Anshan and in the highlands around it, and not at Susa in lowland Khuzestan.
Khuzestan. So there's a argument going on between scholars as to the importance of these various of two particular cities and which one was more important to these people, right? However, what is agreed upon is that Anshan is of great importance in the history of the Elamite. Okay, so keep that in mind. Why is it of great importance? Well, we'll get back to that. Remember, the question we're asking is, and trying to discover is, who is Achaemenes? Okay, so Achaemenes ruled Anshan, okay, in the 7th century. Okay, just before the Medo-Persian Empire, or the empire of the Japhite plus somebody else. Okay, just before that empire started, the place was ruled by Achaemenes, the namesake of this empire, right? And the place that he was ruling is of utmost importance in the history of the Elamite. Right? Why is this important? Elam is not a Japhite. Elam is a son of Shem. I'm going to show you guys here. Genesis 10 and verse 22. The children of Shem, Elam. See that? Asher, Arphaxad, Lud, Aram. These are Shemites, Shem's children, right? So if we find that these Persians are indeed the Elamite people, then we know they are not related to the Medes in the way that the so-called historians try to make it look. They were not the same people. One set of them is Asian, and the other set of them is something else. Let's keep going. How are we doing? Okay, we're good. So who is Achaemenes? A 7th century ruler of Anshan, a really important city in the history of the people of Elam. Who is Achaemenes? A man shrouded in mystery. Now I love it because anytime Esau can take the pieces and tell you his story, he like to say this. Well, we don't know. But you know everything though, Esau. So how come you don't know this? You know? In any case, here's what the reference says. It says, nothing is known of the figure behind it, neither of indigenous. I'll go from the beginning of this excerpt. It says in the Behistun inscription from 520 BC, Darius the First portrays Achaemenes as the father of Tispes, ancestor of Cyrus II and Darius the First. The mid-5th century BC histories of Herodotus has essentially the same story, but fuses two parallel lines of descent from Thaspes, son of Achaemenes. Beyond such brief mentions of the name, nothing is known of the figure behind it, neither from indigenous sources nor from historiographic ones. Okay. It says, and in the same what do you call it excerpt, it says it may be that Achaemenes was just a mythical ancestor and not a historical one. There's Esau again, telling you, well, people just say he existed, but we're not sure if he existed. Now, keep in mind that this is actually a minority of people, right? Who think this, right? The majority of scholars, highlighted here in C, say this. This man ruled a place called Parsumash, okay? And the reference reads, many scholars believe he, meaning Achaemenes, was a ruler. Let me put this here. Was a ruler of Parsuma, a vassal state of the Median Empire. All right. And that from there he led armies against the Assyrian king Sennacherib at the Battle of Halul in 691 BC. So somebody's a minority of people saying, well, we don't even believe this guy exists. But most scholars say, no, this guy existed and he went to battle, and we know the date that he went to battle, and we know the battle that he went to as well, right? So I'm gonna go with those guys on this one. So who was Achaemenes? A person many scholars believe ruled Parsuma. Okay. A man shrouded in mystery, right? For some, I should say, just to be clear. A minor 7th century ruler of Anshan, right? A ruler of Anshan before the empire shared between the Asians, who are the Medes, and the Persians. We're trying to find out who these people are. So I will assert here in D that Achaemenes was a man of Elam, or of the Elam was his progenitor. He was an Elamite. Okay. And let's look at these references to prove that. It says here the historical record has not connected the Persians with the Elamites, but the Bible certainly has. Again, the historical record has not connected the Persians with the Elamites, but the Bible surely has. Okay, let's go to Daniel 2. Anybody else want to read?
I can read if you need.
Okay. Give me verse 26. Please and thank you.
One moment, just pulling it up.
Yeah.
Daniel 2 and verse 26.
Mm-hmm.
It reads, the king answered and said to Daniel, whose name was Belteshazzar, art thou able to make known unto me the dream which I have seen, and the interpretation thereof?
Sorry, 1 second. I was not even at the verse. Right. Now, after you read 26, just hop down to 30. So the king is the king of Babylon, okay? Nebuchadnezzar. If you read verse 1, it'll tell you it was Nebuchadnezzar. Is asking Daniel, hey Daniel, so can you tell me this dream that I had and the interpretation? Because that's the burden that he put upon the wise men in Babylon. He said, I ain't telling nobody the dream. Y'all need to tell me the dream and the interpretation, or I'm killing all the wise men because you guys not wise, basically. Right? And Daniel was told this, and Daniel got concerned because he's like, who the hell can tell this guy the dream he had in his bed? Right? These Chaldeans, they can't tell him that, man. Right? And of course, only the Most High can do it, and the Most High shows it to Daniel, right? So yeah, when he asked Daniel to tell him about the dream that he had and the interpretation of the dream, we're hopping down to where Daniel is beginning to tell him his dream and the interpretation of it. So you can hop down to 30.
Okay, Daniel 2 and verse number 30. But as for me, this secret is not revealed to me for any wisdom that I have more than any living, but for their sakes that shall make known the interpretation to the king, and that thou mightest know the thoughts of thy heart. Thou, O king, sawest and behold a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image's head was of fine gold, his breast and his arms of silver, his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part of iron and part of clay. Thou sawest till a stone was cut off without hands, which smote the image upon his feet that were of iron and clay, and break them to pieces.
Mhm.
Then was the iron, the clay, the brass, the silver, and the gold broken to pieces together, and became like the chaff of the summer threshing floor. And the wind carried them away, that no place was found for them. And the stone that smote the image became a great mountain and filled the whole earth. This is the dream, and we will tell the interpretation thereof before the king.
Go ahead.
Thou, O king, art a king of kings. For the God of heaven hath given thee a kingdom, power and strength and glory. And wheresoever the children of men dwell, the beasts of the field and the fowls of the heaven hath he given into thine hand, and hath made thee ruler over them all. Thou art this head of gold. Sorry, just one moment.
Yep, no problem. Right. So the Most High, Daniel told Nebuchadnezzar, in this statue, you, Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, represent the head of gold. And then he goes on and says, after thee shall arise another kingdom inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall bear rule over all the earth. This is very, very important for allowing us to know who is who in the world. This verse right here. After Babylon, another kingdom is going to rise up that's going to be inferior to the Babylonian kingdom. And then a third kingdom is going to rise up as well. And that kingdom is going to rule the entire world. The Most High gave Nebuchadnezzar this dream for Daniel to be able to prophesy about not only what was going to happen historically before it happened, but also what was going to happen in our times, right? And how to tell the times. So in order to know who the Persians really are, we got to see when did they rule according to this statue, because the statue sets up the rule of the world powers, starting with Babylon and going all the way down to the toes, which is America. All praise to the Most High for this. So what we got to do is see, okay, well, after Babylon, who ruled, right? Who mashed up the Babylonian Empire? Let's go in the historical record. KK, read me this. Actually, brother Winston, you're able to read?
Yes, let me get my glasses.
All right, cool. Yeah, this is a good tidbit right here for everybody.
Okay. The fall of Babylon occurred in 539 BC, when the Persian Empire conquered the Neo-Babylon Empire. The success of the Persian campaign, led by Cyrus the Great, brought an end to the reign, the last native dynasty of the Mesopotamia, gave the Persians control over the rest of the Fertile Crescent.
Right. So the kingdom that destroyed Babylon and took over was which empire? Which empire?
Persian Empire.
The Persian Empire, which we been reading about this whole time. It's called the Achaemenid Empire. It's called the Persian Empire. It's called the New Persian Empire. It's called the Medo-Persian Empire. That's the empire that destroyed the Babylonians. And they ruled. This is what the Bible means when it says the world. It was, you know, I think it's called hyperbole. It's exaggerated. It's the known world. All the important places in the world, they ruled it. Just like America rules the world. All the important places in the world, they ruled it. They rule it. They actually control the world politically, economically, and all of that from the seat in Washington. This is the same thing happening here. So the historical record says that it was the Persians, right? But what does the Bible say? The Bible tells you in Isaiah 21, it refers to the destroyers of Babylon as Media and Elam. The historical record tells us that it was the Persians who destroyed the Babylonian Empire, according to this dream Daniel had. But the Bible calls them Media and Elam. The Most High makes it known who these so-called Persian people were. They were the people of Elam. Let's go to the reference. Let me see if I need anything here from verse 40. No, this is just extra so you guys can see the progression of the kingdoms. It's Babylon, then it's Persia, then it's Greece, then it's Rome, then it's America. Okay? And you can read that on your own. So let's go here now to Isaiah 21, where the Most High called them out by their biblical name, the people that would destroy Babylon, right? Isaiah 21. Let's see what we got here. Sabs, let's get this, please. Give me from 1 to 10.
Zoom it out a bit.
Zoom it out or in?
Out.
Is that better?
A bit more. A bit more. Now scroll up. The burden of the desert of the sea, as whirlwinds in the south pass through, so it cometh from the desert, from a terrible land. A grievous vision is declared unto me. The treacherous dealer dealeth treacherously, and the spoiler spoileth. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media, all the sighing thereof have I made to cease.
So stop right there. Whoever this is talking about, the Most High says to them, go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media. You besiege a place when you come to take it over. In ancient times, they had walls surrounding their cities. You would go with siege weapons and ladders, and you had to destroy or circumvent the walls of the city to get inside and take over the place, right? If it was a walled city. So that's why he says, go up, O Elam, meaning go to war against who he's talking about. And besiege, O Media. He specifically mentions Elam and Media together going up against this particular place, right? Read on, let's see if we can figure it out who this is talking about. Go ahead.
Where am I reading from?
You just finished 2. You can go from where it says go up, O Elam. That's a nice part.
Move up. Move up. What verse is that?
It's verse 2. And if you have a Bible there, just use the Bible instead, Saba, of looking at the screen.
Oh, I see. There are my loins filled with pain.
Read from go up, please.
Okay. Go up, O Elam, besiege, O Media, all the sighing thereof have I made to cease. Therefore are my loins filled with pain. Pangs have taken hold upon me,
Mm-hmm.
as pangs of a woman that travaileth.
Mm-hmm.
I was bowed down at the hearing of it. I
Mm-hmm.
was dismayed at the seeing of it.
Mm-hmm.
My heart panted fearfulness affrighted me. The night
Affrighted me, which is made me
affrighted,
afraid. Go ahead.
affrighted me. The night of my pleasure hath he turned into fear unto me.
Right?
Prepare the table, watch in watchtower, eat, drink. Arise, ye princess, and anoint the shield.
Princes, arise ye princes, and anoint the shield. Mm-hmm.
For thus hath
So hold
Yahweh.
on, before you move on, I want to explain again. Pay very careful attention to what's happening here. Prepare the table. Watch in the watchtower. You're watching in the watchtower when you're expecting war, man. Eat, drink, full up your belly, you princes, and anoint what? The shield, man. Oil up that shield good, shine it up. It's time for war, man. Right? Verse 6.
For thus hath Yahweh said unto me, Go, set a watchman, let him declare what he seeth.
Right.
And he saw a chariot with a couple of horsemen, a
Mm-hmm.
chariot of asses,
Mm-hmm.
and wait, move up. A
You
bit
should be
more.
able to zoom in and out on the actual app.
Oh,
Is it responding or no?
it is.
Yeah, you should
And the
you should be able to zoom in and out comfortably on the actual app itself.
and the chariot of camels, and he hearkened diligently with much heed.
Mm-hmm.
And he cried, A lion, my lord, I stand continually upon the watchtower in the daytime, and I am set in my ward whole night. And behold, here cometh a chariot of men, with a couple of horsemen. And he answered and said, Babylon is fallen, is fallen.
Yeah, but what you said what?
Babylon is fallen, is
Mm-hmm.
fallen.
Mm-hmm.
And all the graven images of her gods he hath broken unto the ground.
You see that, family? So this prophecy is against Babylon. Now, this, like most prophecies, is a double prophecy against Babylon, because Babylon at that time fell. The first fall is Babylon, and the last fall is the daughter of Babylon. Really, the whole statue, it was a statue of Nebuchadnezzar. Why? Because the Most High is showing you the same evil Babylonian spirit rules all these heads of the world from the time of Nebuchadnezzar all the way down. Same wicked, evil statue. Okay? So these prophecies um, are twofold, threefold, and some cyclical. This particular one is certainly talking about what was actually happening to Babylon at that time and what shall also happen to Babylon in this time, right? The Most High say, set a watchman on the watchtower, go see what's happening. Well, if you go turn on the news today and you watch, that's the watchman on the watchtower, and you see what's happening, well, war is coming for Babylon, and Babylon is falling. Every a political and geopolitical analyst tells you America's empire is on its way to the ground, man. They're about to eat dirt, and no one can stop it, right? So that's just to illustrate to you guys that that's how the Bible is written. And all praise to the Most High for his great wisdom and total control to be able to tell us way ahead of time how this thing's gonna go. That being said, we know this is saying Babylon is fallen, is fallen. Here's the crazy part. The Medes and the Persians destroyed Babylon. Nobody debates that in the historical record, right? The Bible tells us it's the Medes and Elam he sent against Babylon when Babylon was destroyed. Right here in Isaiah 21. The double prophecy portion of this is that as America falls in this day and age, the kings of the east are also gonna uh, uh, destroy Babylon. Guess who? Elam, uh, uh, Madai, right? The Medes, the Persians, the Asians, the Asians and the Iranians. And when I say Iranians, I'm talking about the people in that land right now, the land of Iran, right? Is gonna destroy them, right? Prophetically, along with um a small head of their own bird, which is Vladimir Putin, which represents Vladimir Putin. How the Bible puts them all together is they are called the kings of the East. Let me just bring that out real quick. Kings of the East, and then we'll wrap up. Once we wrap up this point. I believe it's in the Apocrypha. That's Revelation. All right, Revelation 16 from 12. The sixth angel poured out his vial upon the great river Euphrates, and the water thereof was dried up, which happened already. That the way of who? The kings of the east might be prepared, man. The rulers of the east are coming against the west. And anytime you turn on any geopolitical analysis, the war is east against west. See that? So the Most High is sending the kings of the east against them, right? Of which the Medes and Elam or Persia are part, you know. So let's go back. Where were we here? Isaiah. So did you finish 9? Yes, I believe so. Right? Give me 10 as well.
O my threshing, and the corn of my floor, that which I have heard of Yahweh of hosts, the God of Israel, have I declared unto you.
Right. So we're not spreading rumors, man. This is the word we have heard from Yahweh of armies, man. That what? Go up, verse 2, O Elam, and besiege, O Media. So even though you look in the historical record and it says the Persians destroyed the Babylonians, as we just looked at, the Most High reveals through these two precepts that it was actually Elam. Elam, okay, along with Media, destroyed the Babylonian Empire. Okay. Um, let me just reach this end here. So we know that the Medes in prophecy are the Japhites, i.e. the Asians. So who then is Elam? Should be pretty clear to everyone right now. The only answer we're left with as we look through the biblical lens is the Persian. So the so-called Persian Empire was really an empire of Elamites. The people of Elam are the ones who, that's their empire. Achaemenes was an Elamite. Okay, the Achaemenid Empire or the Medo-Persian Empire um, was an empire with Elamites and people of Madai, Asians, okay, and you know, so-called Persians. All right. So equipped with this knowledge, we can now properly interpret the following piece of research, seeing that Elamites are Persians, and that we will save for next week, Lord willing, in part 3. Right? Let's put this here. Yeah, that we will save for next week, Lord willing, in part 3. Right? So with that, all praise to the Most High. Yeah, all praise to the Most High via Yahweh Shai. And yo, man, like that's it, right? To the people who are online watching, before I wrap up, just want to remind you guys that if you're trying to, make it to the kingdom of the Most High God and get a proper understanding of the scriptures, free of colonization and religion, stay in touch with us, right? To the so-called European, the actual colonizer, the Most High has reserved for you death and destruction, and you shall surely have it at his hand. I'll see you guys in the next one. To the people on the line, if you guys have questions, and even the people who are listening through the videos or whatever, you have questions, post it in the comments, and I'll be happy to answer them as best as I can using scriptures and historical records where appropriate. All right. So the people on the line, you guys can stay for us to wrap up and answer any questions. All right. And thanks for watching.